Hi, everyone. We are back with the Janelle Show, and I am here with Rose Hulsey. Rose Hulsey is the CEO and founder of Screen Hits TV, a curated app-based streaming aggregator. Rose began her career in politics working for Los Angeles Mayor Richard Roardion. She transitioned into entertainment with the TV Marketing Association, Promax, and BDA. Other employers include the Sundance Film Institute, Universal Pictures and Audio Network, among the largest independent creators and publishers of original music for film, TV, advertising, and digital media. Hi, Rose. How are you?
I'm fine. How are you, Janelle?
Wonderful. Thank you for being here with me today.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yeah, so tell me, you started out in politics and now you are in entertainment. How did that transition happen?
Well, I mean, I wanted to always be in politics in a way. I was really passionate about things that were just happening around me that I didn't think were right. And I think sometimes the best way to solve those problems is to, be in politics and to try to pass laws and ensure that laws are being upheld and that, people are supported where they may not feel supported. A lot of people are unaware of some of like the challenges that are happening in some communities, and being a voice on the inside, I felt could really help in changing things for the better. And I did that for a while, and I worked for Richard Riordan, and I saw there was also challenges within the political realm, and I realized that for me to work for an elected official or to work in that environment was not the best place that I could really help to make change in some areas. Mm-hmm. So that's when I decided to leave politics, and I started to explore other areas in publishing and in media.
I love that. I love that. So what made you go from politics though to media? What was in your head that was a passion that you had, entertainment?
I mean, yes, I grew up in Santa Monica, California. So I was kind of like, born around all of that, and I seen all of that and everything in LA at the time. It doesn't matter if you were in media. I mean, it doesn't matter if you were like a lawyer or a doctor or in anything, it was always entertainment focused. And I actually saw the power of media because I saw that it really could influence people. When you look back and there were some of the shows like Cops, I felt that was just really derogatory to certain backgrounds. And, how can you be a part and change that? And I realized being in the media space on that side, there'd be a way to produce or to create or to help distribute better content that reflected people in different ways. And so that was one of the passions. And I love storytelling. I always felt, how can I say, with everything that's going on in life, it was really lovely to just kind of escape sometimes with my family and my friends and watch a movie and be taken into a completely different world. And so I decided that I wanted to go into that space. And transitioning from politics to media was quite an easy transition because I started politics at the very early part of my career. Gotcha. And actually, when I was working in politics, we were working with a lot of the studios to bring more productions to Los Angeles for economic development growth. And so I got to actually meet a lot of people in the media space. And that also opened up my eyes to a lot of the business side of media that I could get involved in. So for me, it was a very natural transition.
Got you. That makes complete sense. So then you started Screen Hits TV then?
I started Screen Hits TV, yes, but many years later. I kind of did a number of different jobs at, Universal Pictures, The Reporter, Sundance, Promax, Vibe magazine. And, I didn't always want to have my own company because I just felt like who wants that type of responsibility? Right. But it kind of, life led me in that way because I really was finding the growth opportunities to be limiting to an extent. And so I decided to kind of, I found some challenges or problems in the industry on a distribution side. And I felt that I could create something to actually make that process easier. And that's what happened. I ended up creating Screen Hits back in 2012.
So can you tell us what Screen Hits is?
Yeah, so Screen Hits, it originally started off as like a platform to buy and sell content. So to help producers that otherwise wouldn't get their content out there to get their shows on TV. So it was like a marketplace, and it aggregated all this content from all these amazing producers and distribution companies around the world. And about 2 years ago, we decided to pivot and the industry was changing drastically. And to stay relevant and to stay focused and to continue to support our partners that we had developed over the years, we decided to create a consumer app out of Screen Hits. And so what Screen Hits is today is it basically lets consumers, sorry about that, hold on one second, I keep pushing my keyboard. We started to we basically created an app that lets consumers put all their streaming services into one. So if you're a person that has Netflix and Amazon and Hulu and Stars and Disney and Fubo, it gets quite frustrating because you're paying for all these subscriptions, but you're probably going on one most of the time and then another one. So what Screen Hits lets you do is put them all together into one app, and you can literally open it up and have a TV guide of all of your streaming services in one place and see what's available across all of them. And so it's a really great way to find something quick to watch that you actually want to watch, because sometimes what happens is we go on to our favorite streamer and there's nothing we want to watch. There's something that's like really jumping out to us. It's like nothing's really connecting. But the thought to open up another one and go through that whole process again, Screen Hits has you go through that process one time to see everything across the board.
That makes so much sense. How innovative. I love it. Super cute. So this series that we're doing, what you're part of, is the Women of Color versus the Wealth Gap. So I want to ask some questions in pertaining to that. So you started your own business. Can we speak a little bit more about that? I know you didn't want to go into business per se, but what was the driving factor to make you want to go into business? You saw that there was a gap in the industry, I think you mentioned?
There was a gap in the industry. I mean, for me, it was really my wings were constantly getting clipped. I didn't feel like I was being groomed for senior positions, even though I was the top, I was the most successful within my divisions, or, I worked really hard. It just didn't matter. And even though I went into sales for the majority of my career, I primarily chose sales in the end because your numbers speak for themselves. I mean, no matter what anybody says, if you're generating more revenue than everybody else, that's very clear. It's a black and white on paper, how you're doing compared to your colleagues. And so I felt that would be a way to eliminate any sort of issues. And it wasn't, because, even if I was like the number one producer, it wasn't working to my benefit. And I wasn't being groomed or trained to go into an executive senior management position outside of being a director level. And so that was an issue for me. And then also there was a question that kind of came into my head, which was, okay, am I really going to make massive change in this position? And it wasn't going to happen for me. And so I really wanted to be in an opportunity where I could make change. And I also can create an opportunity for myself, because while I was in sales, I was making a lot of people a lot of money. And I wasn't seeing that in my salary. I wasn't seeing that in my commission. And while my coworkers were getting massive amounts, 3 times more, 4 times more. And in these larger companies back then when I was doing it, so this was 15, 20 years ago, there was no way to really argue that with HR, because, you're in the US, you can't really talk about other people's wages or salaries. You don't know what they're getting, even though it's unspoken, and it's always based on you. And so I wanted to stop that. And I kind of thought, if I'm able to make all these other people super successful and wealthy, perhaps I could do it for myself.
I love that. I love that, taking that initiative. And then you're able to also hire additional people. Once you're making a certain amount of money, you can bring other people on that look like you or may think like you. So I love that, definitely. Speaking of making massive change, when you think of shrinking the wealth gap, what comes to mind? Because for me, it feels like there's this big gap, not only for people, not for women and men, but also for women of color. So what's your thoughts on that?
Education. That is like the number one blocker. I think it's such a deep issue, because in the United, I don't know about all the states, but in California in particular, because I'm aware of that, the public school systems, the state school systems, they're funded based off of property tax in certain neighborhoods. So if you are in a neighborhood that is struggling financially and the property values are very low, then you're not going to get a lot of money going to the school system. And that's why there's such a huge discrepancy in education between a public school, let's say, or state school in Beverly Hills compared to one, let's say, in Compton. And so that is one of the biggest problems, because if people do not have the education and the knowledge of the opportunities that are available to them and the training, they're not going to get it. And so when they're 18 or 21 or 24 and they're out looking for a job, they're not going to have those opportunities because they weren't given to them at the beginning. So the first and most important thing is that people need to educate themselves. And if they didn't get the education they wanted when they were growing up because of just, unfair advantages, then they can get it now, because there's nothing stopping somebody to go to a city college and then go on and get a scholarship or financial aid to go get a 4-year university degree, to do internships, to really learn about the craft or the job that you want. And then once you're in that situation, then you can kind of start to see opportunities and things that you can fix, and you'll start to get ideas on a daily basis. And then it's finding the courage to actually act on that. But you need to have that knowledge in order to do what you want to do in that aspect.
I agree with that. I do agree with that. I'm just wondering, what I've noticed in a lot of these conversations that I've been having is that there's a big confidence factor, especially for Black women. And you're saying to just go after what you want and you're able, but a lot of women struggle with having the confidence to be able to go after the things that they want. I'm just wondering how we improve the confidence of our Black women.
Well, I mean, I think it's a lot. Okay, first, I think confidence, there's a lot of things, right? So it's constant. We're not beautiful, or we're not this, or we're not, it's all this, it's constantly. I mean, first of all, you have to just like kind of block that out, because that's like just propaganda that's there to constantly keep people down and to not feel great about themselves. Right. At the end of the day, we should not take that stuff personally. So we need to stop listening to all of these things that are constantly thrown at us, stop looking at magazines and stop hearing about all these negatives that, ooh, people of color can't get financing, or people of color can't get this job, or people of color, I mean, because this is like a problem in itself. It's this rhetoric that makes us feel even lower and lower and lower. And it's not real, okay? Yes, you will find, people will find jobs. You might have to apply for 200 jobs, but out of those 200 jobs, you're gonna find 1 or 2 that's gonna give you the salary that you want and the potential growth opportunities. If you apply for 5, maybe not. So yes, we have to work a bit harder, but that doesn't really matter, because we need to really focus on ourselves. And I think a lot of people from all different backgrounds suffer from insecurity and a lack of confidence, all people. And I think that's something that starts from within. And, it's really hard to tell somebody, just go feel good about yourself. Just go and, it's something that you have to kind of build. And based off of everything that's happened in life and all the constant rejections and all of these things, it makes it quite difficult. But we are very strong women. I mean, think about what we've been through, think about what our ancestors have been through, and, think about the freedom that a lot of people fought for and died for to get. And that in itself is pure strength. And I think pulling on the strength of our ancestors and pulling on the strength of our history and really recognizing that in itself should give confidence. And, if you just go back, I know that people say a lot hasn't changed and things are going backwards, but, go back 200 years and look in the eyes of somebody. And if you can tell them where their descendants would be, or the people that their grandchildren and their great-great-grandchildren, whatever, would be today, they probably would cry and not believe it.
That's true.
Because there's been such a growth, and that growth has happened with no support. So if people can come from that to where we are today, that is a strength in our people. And I think people need to stop seeing all the tragedy and the difficultness and the unfairness, because it doesn't matter. Who cares? What matters is you and your road and your journey in life. That is all that matters. It doesn't matter how much money you're making. If you can get up every morning and do something that you love, and even if it's just going to work and getting a paycheck and having a nice home that you make for your children, that is so much. And so wealth and all this stuff that people strive for is not the purpose in life, because it doesn't make people happy. What makes people happy is to have dignity, to have pride in what they're doing, to be able to provide a home for their family and education and help to uplift and build communities. And going to work and to be able to save and have a nice holiday. And I think when people get so obsessed with, well, I want this, but I can't get it because they're not giving it to me, it's just a constant message that we're putting out there that we start to believe it. So just start, every day telling yourself, oh, I can do this, or I want to do this, and I'm going to find out how I can do it. And there's always a way, always.
I think that was a whole word, Rose. I think somebody needed to hear that today. Definitely. Thank you for that. My last question is, if you could change one thing in the world, what would it be?
I would make people, I would try to change the mentality of human beings. So we stop fighting with each other and we start supporting each other. I think that as humans, I think our core natural instinct would always be to protect each other. Mm-hmm. But we live in this world where we're constantly being pulled apart and torn apart. And I think working together as a people will push humanity and our planet forward. And so if I can remove all of that negative, all the negative energy that's been put into the universe by broken people in the past, I would do that.
I love that. I love that. That's wonderful. Okay. And the last thing I have one more. So the last thing I want to ask you is if you have any advice for our listeners. You started in politics. It can be maybe about that. You've transitioned into a media, basically conglomerate. What advice do you have for somebody who maybe wants to get into this, and maybe they're lacking confidence, or they're telling them themselves that story, I can't do this, they're holding me back? What advice would you give them?
That life is very short, right? So, we all think that we can live forever. It's a natural survival instinct. And we don't ever see death coming, even though it comes for all of us. And at any given moment, we don't know. So, really take every day, every moment, because being here is a gift. No matter how difficult it is, or how frustrating it is, or how painful it is a gift. And what are you going to do with that gift? And so, I would really tell people to just, take the time and really just sit and understand what it is that you want to achieve in life and start to find ways to get there. You don't have to go from A to Z or A to Z. You can literally take small steps, but every step, and as little as, I want to own a business one day, or I want to work as a top executive at a top studio. I don't know how to get there. Well, the first thing you're going to do is you're going to want to learn about that. So go onto Amazon, go buy a book. If your confidence is lacking, there's some great books. There's a book called the 4 Agreements. Go get that and just start to do little things. And every step forward is a step forward. And I think that's like the most important thing in the career. And don't listen to people. I mean, everything is so difficult, but it doesn't mean that there's not a way around it. It's finding a way around it.
Yeah, definitely. I can agree with that. I love that. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Rose, where can people find you? What can you share with our audience? What do you want them to do to connect with you?
They can find me on Instagram. I'm at Rose Hulsey, or they can come to screenhits.tv and download our app if they have many different apps and they want to put it into one place. I'm on LinkedIn as well. So yeah, they can reach me that way.
Rose, we appreciate you so much. This has been very refreshing. Thank you for being here with us today.
No, thanks for having me, Janelle.
Oh, it's no problem. You have a great day. And you guys have been listening to The Janelle Show.